Hi everyone. Today is Monday, February 24, and this is an early morning video. Um, Excuse me. I was actually just thinking of some ways to share some information with respect to how to recover costs related to negative profiling. And some examples of negative profiling include racial profiling, medicalization, and other things that actually impair your ability to earn income related to social, economic, and personal capital development. Now, I've shared a couple videos about how to engage with USA BLACK FEMINIST theorizing, and the beautiful thing about USA BLACK feminism from the stuff that I've shared on this channel is that there's something called a model called a matrix, and it looks at layers of what is called oppression. And when it comes to personal capital development and, for example, looking at strategies to improve quality of life, what one can do is engage in creative economics. And how I actually got involved in this is I saw the work of Marilyn Waring, and I also visited some pages online through the United Nations that talks about feminist economics. And I was really interested in the way that there was pricing for unpaid labor related to the home. But for example, some populations have different ways of life, and in a lot of like so-called diversity populations in where I would say would probably be like the Canada version of New York City, is that you see a lot of like very productive, very sustainable in an ethical way diversity families that actually live in very concentrated dwellings. So you see like a lot of like families in what they call RGI communities, and you see like a lot of diversity families in RGI communities. You see a lot of like diversity families concentrated in these conditions where they are not property people. And so when you see stuff like that, you just kind of wonder like, what the heck is going on? And actually how you can begin to see this is by learning more about environmental justice concepts that have been developed by Dr. Robert Bullard. And so racial profiling, for example, how do you start pricing that? And for example, you may be the person that is working on I don't know, some kind of creative cultural product or some kind of self-employment, green entrepreneurship with a black twist, something. So you've been, working on this idea, and things are flowing, and you've been sitting down at your desk or on the floor, and just conceptualizing a lot of ideas. So you're doing a lot of incubating, you're doing a lot of research, doing a lot of like documenting, and documenting could be in the form of written stuff or just like verbalizing things. You could be like putting videos up of like samples of your rap, or samples of like, for example, your engineering design that you're coming up with or whatever. And you're walking somewhere, and for example, some social practice comes in your way. So you can actually recover those costs, but you can be very creative. And for example, I've been getting a lot of like messages related to like this whole medicalization thing. And what's really sad is that the people that actually benefit from medicalization systems are actually benefiting from stuff such as death, wrongful deaths, attempted murders, and just a lot of problematic data collection. So they have these, very I don't even know what to call them because they just don't work. But human rights, and they have like these departments that are in certain political version infrastructures that say, oh yeah, send us your complaint and we'll definitely, address things. And what they actually do is they collect the data, but they don't address anything. And if you look at, for example, in Canada, in a certain demographic that I'm in currently, is you have, like, for example, different political governances that all have like different colors. Like there's blue, there's red, there's orange, there's purple, there's yellow. Like there's a whole bunch, and they're actually registered with um, um, an area, a department that actually catalogs all these like different choices for governance. And in the United States, for example, there are areas where you can actually locate all the different registered governance groups or groups that deal with like policy, legislation, bill writing, negotiating stuff in, environments that are supposed to be central administrations and stuff. And take a look at those lists and say, okay, you know what? Like, which one do I actually align with? And try and connect your values to actually the constitutions. Now, there's different terms for the American version and the USA version, and, for example, the Jamaica version. So just, for example, write down all the things that, or just think about things that sort of mean a lot to you. Like, for example, in our community, we're creators and we're also innovators, and we love stuff related to being entrepreneurs. And so we're working on this, that, or whatever, and it's like, getting really good stimulation the same way that you would do when you're participating in some sports. So one way to actually recover the cost is to say, okay, and take the USA Black Feminist model, because it's the only one in women's studies stuff. Like, they don't, when you explore like the feminism literature, there's actually some good stuff, and I'm actually going to do a video about the benefits of feminism, because feminism is actually a body of knowledge that actually looks at how populations of women are discriminated against and how populations of women actually empower themselves. And there's all these different versions and stuff. So feminism is not a bad thing, and it really depends on where you're getting the information from. And I connect to black feminism and also, different versions, but I find that I need to start with what represents me, and I need to connect with stuff that actually speaks to also my reality and, my sense of like creativity and stuff. And I find black feminism is fabulous, the stuff in the United States, coming out of the United States. So what you do is you actually start price the stuff. So for example, if you're impacted by medicalization, say, okay, you know what? I actually wanted to bake, like, I'm just putting this example out there. I wanted to bake like 20 loaves of bread, and I have a special ingredient that is like organic and it's good for the body or whatever, and you wanted to sell it somewhere. So you wanted to participate in trading goods and services in whatever, Canada, USA, but you actually have something that you were working on. So you're walking down the street and, you were pulled over by in a wrongful way, or in relation to medicalization stuff, the same thing happened. So what you do is you say, okay, you know what? And you start like thinking, okay, how much did this actually cost me? But start documenting your efforts. Like I have this little book here, and I can't really zoom into it to show you, but it's like a little accounting book, and here it looks like this. And what I do is I make a note of, for example, things that I have to budget for. So you could have like, you know, your expenses, like, and you have to make a note of what they are: shelter, food, you know, nutrition, you know, stimulation of the physical system, not through pharmaceuticals and drugs and alcohol, and you know, other things, right? Craft things, entertainment things, you know. I like films, so you know, there's like, you know, attending film screenings all over the place, right? So you have to like price these things, but also price the opportunity costs, and come up with a term that makes sense to you. Because, for example, you might conceptualize something and say, okay, you know what? This is like an opportunity cost related to my green entrepreneurship project 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 10, something like that. Make a note of these opportunity costs and write them down in like a little book. And what you do is, like, for example, I'll just share, you know, some of the things that I'm working on. One piece of 8.5 by 11 paper with some stuff on it, for me, is worth between $10,000 to $20,000, and I have quite a few. So I actually price that over time, right? And I say, okay, you know what? I should have been able to earn this income in this time frame. So I break it down and I say, okay, you know what? This is what the worth was, and this is how I lost. And what you do is you actually start engaging with your income tax system. Like in Canada, they're called the, oh, this is terrible, I forget. Revenue Canada Services, something like that. And then in the United States, I think they're called the IRS services. And just send them actually a nice, intelligent letter with a little breakdown of your opportunities costs related to racial profiling and related to medicalization. And then what you do is you just send this letter off and say, okay, you can send it off when you do your income taxes, like just put it in the same, like staple it to your, I do my taxes on paper. I don't rush through this stupid digital bullshit stuff, but I actually sit down and I write everything down. And so write it all down, photocopy all that stuff, and then send it off. And I'll tell you this. One year I was curious about what this income tax system was, because I'm like, how come it doesn't work for certain things that you're doing? Then on the other hand, I thought, do they actually get the data? If people don't write in, they have no clue, right? They can't, because it's impossible to know everything, right? So I wrote a letter and I inquired and I said, you know, what exactly is this tax system? Because I don't understand these things. Bing, bing, bing. And you know what? I got a letter back, and it was a very respectful letter, and I was like, wow. So you know what? Try that, and if they send you back a disrespectful letter, you know what? Still write them back. And you know, just start engaging with them and let them know that, you know what? And you know, I'm you know, just seem to be experiencing a lot of opportunity costs. So I was wondering if you had any tax subsidies that would help me recover these opportunity costs. And then you can go into more detail, even make an appointment with someone, or just, I would say, just continue to write them, because